So W-I-W-A-K spells what? You're all looking at me. It's not a word. It's an acronym. W-I-W-A-K stands for When I Was a Kid. And I find myself saying that more and more. But when I was a kid, tag had two meanings. First, tag was the simplest kids game out there. One kid is it. They pursue all the other kids until they're able to touch one of them. When they tag one of them, the other person becomes it. They become the pursuer. It is almost a universal game played all over the planet. We had a very sad funeral here yesterday and wonderful reception afterward, and I know that everyone is cleaning up. And I noticed the kids are getting a little restless, and a little game of tag broke out in the church lobby. We had little black marks all over the lobby, much to Vicky's dismay, probably. But the second meaning of tag for a baseball player was pretty simple. You tag a person to get them out before they reach the base. For me, that was the two dominant meanings of tag. So complex stuff, right? As we end one year and begin a new one. Tagging is also about attaching a label or onto something to help identify, recognize it, or tell something about what you're tagging. When I was a kid, or better yet, when my parents and grandparents were kids, most of their photos were black and white. They weren't so numerous as we have today. So maybe Philip, show one on the screen. My parents would have black and white photos like that, perhaps of a baseball team or a high school gathering or a wedding photo or something else. But the key in that day and age when all photos were print, not digital, the only way you would preserve memory was ultimately to turn a photo like that over and write who's in the front row from left to right, who's in the middle row. You might want to put a date on that and a location. Otherwise, as the years roll on, if you don't, people aren't going to have a clue who's in the photo. So I know Ernie probably can pick out who's in that photo. If you look carefully enough, some of you will know, this person here looks an awful lot like my son. It's not my son, it's actually my father. The only person in the photo I'm even aware of, and I don't know if my dad knows everyone anymore, this was his good friend Jim, and I don't know Jim's last name, so I may be the last person actually to know the photo. But nothing is on the back at this point. So I'm taking you on a journey today, but when I look at a picture like that, it reminds me of the movie Sandlot. So what do we do with photos today to bring it into modern day? We can take a picture with our phone and immediately, within seconds, post it to Facebook or Instagram, and we can electronically tag every single person in the entire picture. And it will give you a link to their social media sites. And over time, what happens is all of a sudden you have this vast, enormous electronic archive of all the photos you're tagged in throughout the internet that you allow yourself to be tagged in by all bunch of sources. Even the photos that are never, you can get rid of that one, Philip. Even the ones that you don't post with electronic tools, you can teach it to recognize faces. I don't know, any of you do that? I mean, I probably have 25,000 photos, much to the dismay of Bill Similek, on my computer here at church. But I have taught it to recognize people of the church that I know. So knowing who was going to be here today, I looked up great-grandpa Ernie Kessler and great-grandma Brenda Kessler. I found a photo of them and said, in a sense, said, teach my computer, this is Ernie. Teach my computer, this is Brenda. So you can imagine a whole host of stuff over the last 15 years pops up. And within, just by putting that into my computer, all of a sudden I see Ernie at a lectern teaching the church about what we plan to do as we thought about building this place here. There's a picture of Brenda with Stephen ministry leaders, probably 13 years ago. There's them sitting next to each other in a Sunday school class, probably in 2002. There's Ernie photobombing a bunch of people at the Dead Sea. There's two of them with Jim and Susie Mann at a Valentine's Day dinner. There's a picture at Terry and Kyle's wedding with the Schultzes, the Ritzes at their wedding reception. The list could go on and on, but any single person you can do that for. All of us could do that. I can do that for so many other people quickly by tagging them. Everyone with me still? Taking you on a little journey. I look at some of the photos of my childhood. I'm old enough that I'm not, all my photos of when I was a kid are not digitized. And I look at them and I look at school pictures and teams and I say, I wonder who that person is I'm standing next to. I don't have any idea who they are. I wonder who that person is. In the final moments of Jesus' public ministry, what he does is he tags himself. He tags himself and shows where he stands in every photo, in every generation. We have some churches, some televangelists, and some politicians will always be preaching about elitism and prosperity and saying God stands with those who are wealthy and have material wealth and have all these good things. They'll be preaching this. That's the way in which God blesses us and orchestrates it as such. But that's not what Jesus said. That's not how Jesus tags himself. If you get tagged in a picture you don't like in this day and age, you can remove the tag. And that's ultimately, I think, what Jesus does in every generation. Jesus says, if you want to spot me, know where I'm standing in any picture, in any generation, past, present, and into the future, look for the weak, the vulnerable, the poor, the oppressed, the alienated, the depressed, those who are at their wits' end, those who are struggling, the outcast, the ostracized. Jesus says, find them, spot them, notice them. Not just notice them, go and help them. And when you do that, when you've gone to them and helped them, you have met Jesus face to face. That's what Jesus says. To see them and do nothing, to not notice, is tragic. What Jesus says is, you've ultimately missed me standing in your midst. You've let me walk on by and not helped. As we look back at 2016, we could do some soul searching ourselves. I need to do some soul searching, and I wonder how many I have ignored along the way. How many times have I ignored Jesus? It's a hard thing to pay attention to. Perhaps I wonder how many times I've missed by being too busy. I wonder how many have missed Jesus by taking too many selfies or looking inward or simply just being so overwhelmed with lamenting and hating that they've really missed God's goodness in our midst. As we look forward, as we move into a new year, I certainly pray we move forward with a greater sense of hope, and I certainly pray that we will all experience a totally different type of tag, and that is the tag and the nudge of the Spirit of God saying, open your eyes, open your hearts, look at the people around you. There's always somebody in need, and that person in need is actually me, says Jesus. So may we feel the tag of Jesus. Let us move ourselves into action representing him wherever we go. Amen.